Welcome to PLZ Soccer's football show. I'm Peter Martin. We are here ready for the third instalment of Celtic versus Rangers in the Scottish Premiership. I'm delighted to say Darren Jackson, Alan Rough and Gabriel Antoniazzi are here with me. You can join us, give us your opinion on who you think is going to win this Old Firm derby. We're here at the Emirates Arena on the grassy knoll overlooking Celtic Park, and the sun is shining, certainly shining down on a Rangers side declared champions long before we get to the kick-off of this fixture. Celtic have lost their title. They were going for 10 in a row, but Rangers managed to stop them, and today it could be about pride for Celtic. It's almost certainly about Rangers coming out onto the park, Roughie, and proving that they are indeed the champions with a win over 90 minutes.
Yeah, there's no doubt over the season they have been the best side, but Celtic have something to prove today. A really poor season, and they've got all to play for. I think there's a lot of pride, as you said at the beginning, there at stake as far as in the Celtic dressing room, so they really have to up their game.
And of course, when you listen to most of the talk going into this game, Darren, a lot of it has been taken up by what happens in the Europa League with Rangers. Now they have to just focus on, can they focus on getting back to winning ways in this match because of what unfolded at Ibrox on Thursday night?
Yes, disgraceful, Peter, what happened. But they will concentrate in the game. That'll get dealt with, and I hope it gets dealt with severely. But Steven Gerrard will have them focused. They will definitely. An Old Firm game's important anyway, but they'll definitely want to go through the season undefeated. So it's probably a good game for them after the European exit. It's probably a great game for them to come to Celtic Park and show that they are the champions. But I'm sure the Celtic players will be up for this one. They'll know they've probably let themselves down this season with their performances. Not them all, but as a team they've not been good enough. So they'll be going out today to get a bit of pride back and hopefully give the Celtic supporters something to shout about. Well, the overriding message going into this game was quite simply, don't come anywhere near Celtic Park. Whether there are a number of Celtic or Rangers fans congregating elsewhere, only time will tell. We can tell you the buses have been making their way into Celtic Park, bringing both Celtic and Rangers. We will speculate on what we think the starting 11 will be for Celtic and Rangers ahead of this third encounter here at Celtic Park between Celtic and Rangers. But first and foremost, let's hear from Rangers manager Steven Gerrard and the caretaker manager at Celtic, John Kennedy.
Steven Gerrard and John Kennedy will go head-to-head in the dugout for the first time in today's game. Gerrard's record in Old Firm since his arrivals is impressive, winning 5 out of 9, including the last 3. The Gers suffered only their second loss all campaign on Thursday as they were dumped out of Europe by Slavia Prague. But Gerrard says his men will bounce back and they want to finish the season strongly with a possible invincible title on the line.
We'll try and finish the league campaign as strong as we can. Obviously this is the last game before we get the chance to breathe, if you like, and get ready for the split games. But I want the standard and the hunger and the consistency to remain from a league point of view.
John Kennedy called for his side to lay down a marker and show they intend to bounce back next season. But goals and even victories have been a struggle of late. The Hoops will hope Odsonne Edouard and perhaps even a fresh James Forrest turn up trumps. These games are always close, despite the fact none of the last 12 have ended in a draw, and Kennedy expects another tense encounter.
They don't concede a lot of chance, they don't give up a lot of space in dangerous areas, and again, but it's up to us to make that work on our advantage in terms of, pinning them back in, putting them under pressure, making them defend at the right moments, and just controlling them as much as we possibly can.
Will Kennedy be able to inspire his wounded team to a defiant victory, or will Gerrard's Gers re-emphasise their dominance? Kickoff is not far away now.
Darren, no surprise, Steven Gerrard quick to emphasise that the need for Rangers is all about focusing on the other trophies that are available now. Of course, they're out of Europe, they've won the league, the Scottish Cup is still there for them, so he's trying to put a lid on this going through the entire season undefeated. He's saying, yes, an important game, nice to win it as champions, but there's the Scottish Cup on offer for Rangers as well. Oh, 100%, Peter, and I think obviously Celtic will feel the same. They'll want momentum going for the rest of the season, and it'll start today, because this winning today for both teams gives you a massive lift. And as I say, we've still got the Cup to go for, so both teams will be very, very focused. We know what Old Firm games are like.
the pat in the back and the praise you get after it when you win them. So it's good that the Scottish Cup's still to play for. So it keeps everybody focused.
Yeah, Roughie, John Kennedy there saying there's a bit of pride, maybe a marker to put down for some players, maybe the team collectively to say, look, we're not as bad as everybody makes out, but you know, the evidence here is that quite a number of players might be playing for the future.
Yeah, I think it's been like that for the last 4 or 5 months since Neil Lennon came out and said there was a few players didn't want to be here. And I know it's very difficult, but if you're a football player and you're going out to play in this game, you've got to put everything to the side. You've got to go out and prove. A lot of the players in the dressing room have taken a battering this year, and quite rightly so, with the performances. So they've got a chance today to roll up their sleeves and go out and show their supporters that they are a decent side.
Yeah, Gabriel, you've been monitoring obviously what the managers have been saying this week. Obviously the fans can give us their opinions ahead of this one. There's a real kind of a confidence rippling through most of the Rangers fans, quite simply because they've gone through this entire season without anybody taking the 3 points off them in a game.
Yep, 32 games, 28 wins and only 4 draws. It's quite remarkable from Steven Gerrard's men. I know that he's been playing down the fact that he's not too bothered about being invincible and he wants to focus on the Scottish Cup, but him and his players will be thinking about it. There's no denying it. So from Rangers' point of view, of course they want to remain undefeated and they want to win this game. If they do win this game, it'll be the first time they've won 3 Old Firms in one season since Dick Advocat in 2000. From Celtic's point of view, John Kennedy wants to lay down a marker for his players next season. You said that the players are perhaps playing for their future. It's John Kennedy. If he wins this Old Firm, perhaps another, even the Scottish Cup, would he have a case to be the Celtic manager? I'm not sure if Celtic fans would want that, but I'm sure he would have a strong case for that. Keep your comments coming in though. We've got plenty of people joining in. Niall Kane, Freddie Young, Billy Doherty, good morning to all of you. Send us your thoughts. What do you want to see from both teams in terms of the lineups, and what do you think the scores will be? Let us know.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on our Facebook, across YouTube and Twitter as well. We're live here at the Emirates Arena overlooking Celtic Park on the football show. Darren Jackson, Alan Ruff and Gabriel Antoniazzi. Of course, the players have a point to prove as well. Rangers as champions can go there with their chests puffed out. There won't be a guard of honour. Celtic players will just be determined to try and prove that point and get a win against Rangers. It's been a long time for them to savour that when you consider the collapse since the start of the season. Let's hear from the players. Connor Goldson and David Turnbull have been looking ahead to the big one.
Old Firm games can make or break players at the Glasgow clubs. There is no doubt that Rangers fans for years to come will remember October's pivotal 2-0 victory here at Celtic Park, with both goals scored by centre-back Connor Goldson. The 28-year-old has played every single minute in League and Europe since February 2019. Such is his importance to the way the Gers play, and he's been captain since James Tavernier's injury. Goldson is the favourite for Player of the Year, but he doesn't want any cockiness from his teammates today, just a dominant showing.
We go there as champion for the first time, and we need to stamp our authority on the fixture as we have in the last few games and make sure that we're victorious, because we know how much it means to our fans and how much it means to the whole team and whole group internally in this building. So no, I don't think we can go there with a swagger at all.
David Turnbull will hope to be remembered as a Celtic great one day, and he has made a bright start to life at Parkhead. He's been the shining light of a disastrous season for the Hoops and will hope to spark a stuttering frontline back to life. Despite dominating the January derby, Celtic were beaten, and they want to right those wrongs today.
Especially after the last game, we played really well, and we unfortunately didn't get the result, but we can take positives from that and other games we've played, and we're going there with a point to prove, yeah.
There will be plenty of key battles across the park that decide the outcome as Scotland's biggest two lock horns once again.
Every player wants to play in an Old Firm game. It's eagerly anticipated, and right across the globe there is always a huge interest in this match. It may not be for the best footballing reasons. Certainly the unsavoury aspect of the Old Firm game is something that attracts more than a few people to see exactly what's going to unfold. But here today there are no fans inside the stadium. There's certainly no fans anywhere near Celtic Park at the moment, because there's a ring of steel with huge police presence presence right across Parkhead's area. So maybe the fans are paying heed to the messages coming out from the manager, the players and everybody connected with both clubs, Celtic and Rangers. Darren, as far as the 90 minutes is concerned, you know what it's like. What goes through the players' minds, even if it is a title winning side or a side playing for pride? What's the feeling like ahead of a game like this?
Well, I've got to say, Peter, it's probably the most nervous I've been going into a game, because listen, you're a pro playing with any club. It's important winning games, but this game just brings that wee bit extra spice and knot in your stomach and all that. And listen, the Rangers players will be going, as you said, to prove this is why we're champions. This is why we've won the league. They've been so consistent, and the Celtic players need to go out and show that we're not as bad as we've been this season. That they are a good side. They do have good players. So they'll be going out. They need to go out and prove that, and you need to handle the pressure. Be brave in the game. Take the ball under pressure and all. Yes, there's no fans in, but it's still a game that the expectations are incredible. So I loved it. I didn't play in many, but I loved playing in them, and wonderful game. So hopefully they can go out and produce a performance today.
Yeah, as far as the team lineups, we're still waiting on the confirmed starting 11 for Celtic and Rangers. Gabriel, Rangers, over the course of the season, you could possibly pick 9, 10, 11 of that starting 11. That's that consistency of selection that has served Rangers well. What's your take on Steven Gerrard's starting 11?
Yeah, well, we expect him to go with a 4-3-3 formation, which he always does play, and that's the main difference between Celtic and Rangers this season. If you look at the previous two Old Firms, Celtic started this one 6 months ago in a 3-5-2 formation, then they went to the 4-4-2 at Christmas. We think they might go 4-4-2 again, 4-2-3-1 today. We'll start looking at what we think the Celtic team will be. We'll have Scott Bain in goal. He's of course been the number one for the last few months now. John Joe Kenny, the Everton loanee, at right back. We think Stephen Welsh, who made his debut in this fixture 6 months ago to partner Christopher Ayer at centre half, and Diego Laxalt. He has also started the previous two Old Firm games. We do think it will be roughly a diamond shape. Captain Scott Brown at the base of the midfield. He was dropped for the January fixture in place of Ismail Assoro, but we think he will start. He's played both of the fixtures under John Kennedy so far. We've got Callum McGregor as ever, and Ryan Christie in midfield, with David Turnbull playing number 10. Odsonne Edouard, the league's top scorer, will start up front. The question is who will partner him. We think it could be Moy El Yunusi just playing around him, perhaps off the left a little bit. He'll get the nod ahead of Lee Griffiths, Albion Ajeti or Patrick Klimala. That's what we think Celtic will go with. Moving on to Rangers, however, we know that Alan McGregor will play in goal. Right back, we're not so sure. Nathan Patterson has impressed since coming in to deputise for captain James Tavernier, but Patterson has a knock, so we don't expect him to play. Leon Balogun at right back could be the answer. The two centre-halves will be Connor Goldson as ever, with Philippe Hollande partnering him. Borna Barisic from the left. The three in the middle will be Stephen Davis, who's just signed another one-year contract extension at Ibrox. Glenn Kamara, hopefully he will play. Steven Gerrard said he will have a chat with him to see if the Finnish international wants to play, is comfortable to play after the alleged racist abuse on Thursday night. We expect Joe Aribo to drop from out wide back into central midfield. It's the position he prefers, which means Yanis Hadji could start wide right, Ryan Kent from the left, and as ever Alfredo Morelos up top. Will it be lucky number 13 for him? No goals in 12 in the Old Firm. Roughie, you think he's going to score today?
Well, you think he's going to score sometime. I'm sure he would hope that he could score today, because it's a stat that's always going to be brought up as long as he hasn't scored. So, you know, I think the Celtic defence will have to be wary of him. You know, he's on a bit of a high just now. He's now looking a threat, and he's assisting as well. He might not be scoring, but he's putting a power of work in for everybody else. So yeah, he'll be hoping he can score today.
Roughie, I've got to ask you, what do you think the mindset will be of Glenn Kamara? Because going into this one, there's been a lot of claim and counter claim. He's obviously listened to what Slavia Prague have had to say about it. Although I would say that some of the banners that some of the fans of the Czech Republic side have been holding up have been absolutely despicable. I don't think Glenn Kamara is the type of boy to make that accusation up, but he still has to focus on his profession, which is being a footballer, in what I think has been a very turbulent 48 hours for him.
Yeah, as you know, all players treat things differently. You know, it's up to the individual. I'm sure the manager will be monitoring, how his demeanour is and how he's feeling about the whole thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they left him at, You know, a lot has been going on since that night, and you know, it's a lot for him to deal with. You know, some players can handle it, some can't. So it's a call from the manager and the player for me, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just left him out of the equation.
Yeah, the other thing about it, I mentioned the fact that a lot of people like to look at this game for the more unsavoury nature surrounding it, Darren, but quite simply, you know, a lot of people, especially on social media, the Rangers management team have highlighted the fact that a number of Rangers players suffered abuse after it as well. Now, where that comes from, we can only speculate on that. But this game of all games, I think there's a message to everyone across Scotland, as well as acting responsibly. Think about what you're doing, think about what you're saying, think about how you conduct yourself, because this is a game that's been filled with poison before. For everybody who is up in arms about the treatment handed out to Glenn Kamara, there is a need to equally think about the sectarianism and the poison that surrounds this game, and think about it as a game of football, and that should be it. It shouldn't be about abuse. This is a message that Motherwell players refused to take a knee yesterday because some players feel, and some people within Scottish football feel, this is merely tokenism. There is not enough activity in showing people that there is a zero tolerance of racism and a zero tolerance of sectarianism which is attached to this type of game.
Yeah, 100%, Peter. And I listen, sooner or later the social media companies are going to have to do something, because they're responsible. They're making millions of pounds, but they're going to have to do something. But going back onto the Glenn Kamara, I think he will play. I think he's had unbelievable support from his manager, from his club, rightly so, and from outside football, from outside Rangers, other clubs and other players and all that. I think he's had incredible support. But you're right. It is, at the end of the day, it is just a game, Peter. We know that, but people get caught up in this, and in Scotland we want to. That's happened in Europe, and we don't like it. Don't bring it to Scotland. If we can try and be bigger than that, and treat it as a game. A lot of people can't, but let's enjoy the game as a spectacle. I've said before, for me, it's one of the biggest games in the world, because of the fans and what comes with it. But let's go and put up on a performance today, the two sets of players, and enjoy.
Sorry, Dan, just to come in on Glenn Kamara, I spoke to Steven Gerrard. I was at Ibrox on Thursday night, and he said that he spoke to the players and that they were insistent on continuing. Obviously the game was over, they were essentially knocked out, but they wanted to play on. If perhaps they thought that was the strongest message. We want to play on and show that racist abuse isn't going to stop us playing football. That's what we do. We're footballers. So you would hope that hopefully Glenn Kamara will take that approach today. If he's comfortable to playing, he will play. He's a fantastic player. He's been one of the best players.
I think he will play.
Yeah,
I think he's played the whole season, and the expectations of playing for Rangers. This is totally out of football terms, but I think he will play, and because he has had incredible support from everybody.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for the Rangers 11 to confirm if he does play. We've got the Celtic 11. It's exactly as we expected. 11 for 11. We've got Scott Bain in goal. Kenny starts at right back. Welsh makes another appearance in the Old Firm. He has been impressive since the turn of the year. Partnering him is Christopher Ayer, one of only 3 players to have started all 3 Old Firms for Celtic. You've got Diego Laxalt gets the nod ahead of Greg Taylor, who is still on the bench. He's had a thigh problem lately. At the base midfield, it's Scott Brown, the captain, 35-year-old. Will it be one of his last Old Firms? We'll have to wait and see there. Callum McGregor, he is the third of 3 players, along with Laxalt and Ayer, to have started all 3 Old Firm games for Celtic this season. Ryan Christie, not in the best form right now, but he still retains his place. David Turnbull plays in the number 10 position. He scored 7 goals since he's come into the team this season. El Yunusi partners Odsonne Edouard up front, who's on 21 goals in all competitions this season.
Well, there's your starting 11, and to be fair, Roughie, okay, it's got a familiar look about it now. It hasn't had a familiar look about it all throughout the season, and a number of players are going to have to take a long, hard look at themselves. The manager paid for it with his job, because whether it was injury, whether it was people with a lack of professionalism and how they should be fit ahead of a season, or whether it was a situation where some players had quite simply their own agenda. I think there's a number of reasons why Celtic collapsed and have been unable to mount a serious title challenge here.
Yeah, I think you've summed up everything there, Peter. You know, it has been inconsistency through it. There's been trouble right through. You know, lots of wee things that have been going on behind the scenes. and it's just disruptive, you know, and obviously the form has showed that. But today, you know, again, it's not a settled back four. Again, it's, you know, that's, for me, that has been the problem. Not a settled goalkeeper, not a settled back four. You look at Rangers, settled goalkeeper, settled back four, and the strength that they get from that. So again, it's now a makeshift Celtic defence, but they'll have to be a lot better than what they are, because from middle to front, I would say that Celtic are as strong as Rangers.
Yeah, Gabriel, I think, has the Rangers side.
Yes, news is that Glenn Kamara does start after Thursday's night's alleged racism. He plays in the midfield, but will start from in goal. Again, it's exactly as we expected. I think that's the first time we've had both the starting 11s spot on.
Let's not brag about it, Gabriel.
They've got Alan McGregor in goal. Liam Balogun does start at right back. Nathan Patton isn't deemed fit enough to start. They've got Connor Galton, who's played every single minute in all competitions since February 2019, starting as the captain. Philippe Hollander will partner him. He's recovered from the problem that kept him out of Thursday night's Europa League elimination at the hands of Slavia Prague. Borna Barisic plays left back. The three in the middle, as we said, Glenn Kamara is in there. Stephen Davis is playing again. I think it's his 26th Old Firm game. That's just a massive number. His experience will be pivotal today. Joe Aribo comes into central midfield. Yanis Hadji, he starts his first Old Firm match. He came on in the January fixture for Kemar Roof at half-time and changed the game with his pressing and his intricate footwork. Alfredo Morelos does start up front, and Ryan Kent, as ever, plays on the left wing. He's got 2 goals in Old Firm games so far. He could be a difference maker. But just to highlight something, as I said, only 3 Celtic players have started all 3 Old Firm games. That just tells you that they've not had any idea what their best starting 11 is. When you look at Rangers, they've only made 2 changes from the last Old Firm. I think that just says it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Rangers side, when you listed all the players 1 to 11, 2 or 3 of them, and Tavernier obviously is another candidate, could be Player of the Year. That's an indication of the strength of the performances of the Rangers side, Darren.
Yeah, Peter, I mean, they've conceded 9 goals, is it, all season? So you're looking at the goalkeeper, Tavernier, Goldson and Barisic. I'll definitely be in there, without doubt. I mean, when you concede, it's an incredible record. Roughie will know, conceding 9 goals, but when you've got that, you've just mentioned it, when you've got that settled back 4, back 5, it's like what the confidence it gives you, and you're not conceding goals, because in the Rangers team, they know they will score goals. So if you're not conceding goals, and that's how they've been so consistent this season. So, but I think, obviously he's been out for a few weeks, but I think it's a plus for Celtic that Tavernier's not playing, especially when you're playing that diamond, and because you know in the you're going to give up possession in wide areas, and they're 2 of their best players are in the wide areas, in Tavernier and Barisic. So today, Balogun, who's a centre half, will probably just sit in there, and he'll let Barisic go forward a little bit more. So I think that's obviously it's a plus for Celtic that Tavernier's out.
Yeah, as far as the keeper's concerned, he's been absolutely superb, Roughie. I mean, everybody was talking about Alan McGregor's save in the first tie against Slavia Prague, but he's produced big time in big games. He always comes up with the saves. He's been absolutely superb, and I don't think there's any doubt Steven Gerrard will want to give him, you know, a deal that gives him the perfect send-off as a Rangers player when he comes to the end of his career. He's been magnificent this season.
He's been unbelievable, and as you said there, he's a big time player. He makes the big time saves when needed, you know, and that's a sign of a really quality goalkeeper. I mean, a lot of goalkeepers will make saves inside out in 90 minutes of a game, but having the ability to make that save that wins your team the 3 points it's just a tremendous temperament he's got, and I think a lot of the guys who know him, he's a different animal on the park away from it. You know, he's so focused. You can see when he loses a goal, you see what much it means to him. If anybody's made a mistake in front of him, he's on them as well. He's just a total professional, and he doesn't want to lose goals.
And in contrast to that, and there's no point in, I mean, we've mentioned it at the start of the season when they missed out on him, but not having a Fraser Foster has been a big criticism of Celtic. There are many mistakes that they've made, but there was a real chance for the manager, Neil Lennon, to try and get Fraser Foster, and for whatever reason in the background it didn't materialise, and their goalkeeping position for me has always been in question all season, Darren.
Yeah, Peter, and as again Roughie knows, when you have to keep changing your keepers, you've got a problem. And I think there was 2 mistakes made, that they didn't get Fraser Foster in and they let Craig Gordon go. Craig Gordon's still an exceptional keeper who's doing incredibly well for Hearts. He's still fit. He's still agile. There's nothing about Craig Gordon that says to me you're maybe losing it a little bit. I think Craig Gordon should still be at Celtic.
Yeah.
So I think there was two mistakes made there.
Give us your point of view on how you think this game is going to unfold. We've brought you the teams for both Celtic and Rangers exactly as we expected from both camps. Steven Gerrard picking the side that has been dominant throughout this season. John Kennedy picking a side that he hopes will show a bit of pride and come up with a win in this game. And of course, a win would actually give Rangers their first defeat of the season. Are Celtic capable of that? What's your thoughts on that on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course on our YouTube channel? Don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm sure there are many with all sorts of opinions coming in, Gabriel, for this one.
Yeah, I'll just read you some of them out. We've got Phil McLaughlin, come on Celtic, 2-1. I think this really says it all, though. We've got John Miller, Celtic not playing their best, but I think they'll win 5-1. The reply to that from Stuart Lang, 5-1 Rangers. I think that just says it all.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the joy of it. I have to say, Roughie, I mean, let's not get away from this. I do enjoy the banter because there are many fans out there, normal thinking fans who are not bigoted, fans who don't want to abuse individuals, who have a bit of banter, who have a laugh. And Rangers fans have waited a long time to be able to give that banter back to the Celtic supporters. As we were driving up here, I mean, I did think it was a big operation, Roughie. But coming up towards the Emirates Arena, there are a number of flagpoles which have been decked out in Union Jacks. Now, I don't know about you, Roughie, but that's 2:30 in the morning, and it takes a lot of work to get them all the way up that road. But fair play to the Rangers fans who managed to do it. They didn't want to be near the place, but they put the operation in place in case anybody's in any doubt about who are the champions of Scotland.
Yeah, I know there's nobody here at the moment, but I'm sure there will be groups in their own wee town or whatever, you know, maybe in their back garden. And then let's not kid ourselves on. Whatever way this game goes, there will be rockets later on in the day because they'll be celebrating. You know, it just shows you how much it means to both sets of fans. You know, you're saying Rangers have been deprived for a while, and they've every right to celebrate. But I think this is one for the Celtic supporters as well. They will celebrate as well. I know it might just be one game, but that's something they can build on.
Our predictions are not too far away for this one. What do you think about it? I mean, I know everybody likes a little joke, 4 or 5-1. I'm not too sure if there's going to be a lot of goals in this match, but nevertheless, before we give our predictions, Darren, when you look at the two previous encounters, again, the contrast is there for all to see. In the opening one, Rangers dominant, managed to get the 2 goals. In the second one, Rangers this time on the back foot, Celtic controlling it until, of course, Near Beaton is sent off, and then suddenly an own goal kills them. So you just wonder how this one will unfold, because I think, looking at the two teams, this is possibly the best of the two that could be selected.
Yeah, you're probably right, Peter. As you say, in the first one, Celtic were probably a bit unlucky there that they had 5 or 6 players out with COVID in the first one, but Rangers won it well, convincingly. In the second one, yes, Celtic dominated the game until Beaton was sent off, and then obviously they lose the goal with the own goal. So I think they'll look at the second game. They'll have looked at the second game and where they got success from that. They'll know that John Kennedy and his staff will have looked and the way that they're going to play. They'll want Turnbull to get forward and support El Younousi and Edouard. Christie can get forward, Mcgregor can get forward. They need to take the game to Rangers. They really need to go. The Rangers are a possession-based team. They'll keep the ball, but they really need to go and really stop them playing and to play themselves further up the pitch.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Roughie, does it set any sort of marker or any kind of kudos towards John Kennedy if he orchestrates a win here today? Because I know Kieran Tierney, who was interviewed on BBC over the last 24 hours, mentioned the fact that he thinks John Kennedy's a great coach. Players respond to him. He would be an ideal candidate for the job. If anything, I think a lot of Celtic fans are thinking, even with an Old Firm win, John Kennedy is not the one that they are looking to galvanise not only the support but season ticket sales going into a new season where they have to challenge Rangers.
Yeah, you just have to look at the previous Celtic managers. You know, they have that wee wow factor that the fans love to buy into. Neil Lennon, for one, right at the very beginning, was the fans' choice. You know, because they knew what he would bring to the club. I mean, Kennedy has done nothing wrong. His press interviews have been very good. He's been very honest in everything he's done. But I agree with you. I think it needs to be a really big one for Celtic to change things around. I think he'll still be there. I think he's still got something to offer.
Yeah, just in terms of the managers, I was looking at the betting market earlier today, and the two favourites now are Chris Wilder and Roy Keane. And I find that quite interesting, because when you talk about Kieran Tierney, speaking of John Kennedy, say he's a really good coach, perhaps if Kennedy does well here, you could almost see him staying on as a coach, and then you get the figurehead in, the manager like Chris Wilder or even a Roy Keane. I don't know if that's what Celtic fans want. Let us know what you think. But when you look at Rangers and the success they've had this season, it's quite similar to that. You have Steven Gerrard, who is the manager, but he makes no bones about it. He doesn't do a lot of the coaching. That's Michael Beale and his other staff. He is the manager. He's in charge of the players, picking the team, and all media duties, things like that. Perhaps Celtic will follow that model and go for a Chris Wilder or a Roy Keane type, who will just be in charge, and then you have coaches underneath it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be brutal about this. I don't think there's a catch chance in hell of Chris Wilder ever becoming the Celtic manager. And anyone who wants Roy Keane as the manager, I think their expectation or their ambition for Celtic is way below what I think the majority of sensible people are looking at Celtic. I don't think Roy Keane's the answer as well. I have consistently over this period looked at all the candidates, tried to eliminate them, and looked for a reasonable guess at who Dermot Desmond might want to put his faith in. And for me, coaching wise, and someone that can go in and galvanise Celtic and organise them quickly and understand Scottish football, that man for me is Steve Clarke. He might not be this kind of an outgoing extrovert that everybody's looking for, Darren, but if you think of the realistic candidates who are out there, he's certainly a front runner. Some of the names that have been attached to this job are quite simply ridiculous.
Yes, anyone loses their job and someone puts a tenner on it, I think he goes favourite. I phoned you the other night, Peter. I phoned you Friday night, and I agree with you. I think it's Steve Clarke. I don't know why. There's just watching his press conferences and all that. I just think it's Steve Clarke. Now, everyone talks about playing the Celtic way and attacking and all that, but you've got to get right. Before it's shown this year, you've got to get right defensively, because if you get right defensively, what Rangers have, you've got a chance going forward, because they'll always score goals, and he definitely did that at Kilmarnock, and he definitely done that with Scotland.
Yeah, but in terms of Steve Clarke, do you want to appoint Steve Clarke before Scotland's first major tournament in 23 years? Do you wait until they get eliminated? Obviously, we're not expecting them to win the tournament and be in it in late July, but do you wait until they get knocked out at the end of June, then Steve Clarke comes in, and then you've got the Champions League qualifiers in 2 weeks? Is that what Celtic
Gabby,
need?
I don't know if they'll do it before. I don't know if Steve would want that publicity before, but it's a hard one, because he does have Europe, and he'll not want to detract from that, which is so important. It's the first time in 23 years, but I still think if it is going to be him, things will be in place for Steve to come in. His staff will be in place, and I think they would be speaking about signings with the recruitment team.
Yeah, I mean, Roughie, I'm not asking you to come up with other names, because it's a tough call. I'm going through all the names that are thrown out there. You know, as soon as a manager, as Darren mentioned, loses a job, suddenly it'd be ideal for Celtic. I think they need someone that Dermot Desmond has this attitude of, when he was looking for potential managers and he realised the enormity of the job when Dick Advocaat was in charge, people were saying ahead of that season that it would take Celtic 5 years to catch up with Rangers. Well, the truth of the matter was it didn't. It took them 5 minutes in an Old Firm game here at Celtic Park. They won 6-2. They need to get a manager. I think Dermot Desmond has him in place in his mind. I think he's spoken to him because that's his style. He did the same with Brendan Rodgers. I think they need to go out there and get someone that's got the potential to create a new era at Celtic. Now, Steve Clarke's one. I wonder if you think there is someone else in your mind that might come to the fore that Celtic fans would embrace.
Well, I already gave you a shout, I think it was 2 months ago, and you laughed at me, and I went for Dan Petescu from Cluj, who was interviewed previously for the job. I think we'll all admit that team he was the manager of were a very good footballing side when they came. He's handed in his job. He's not going to go to anybody to the end of the season. So he's just another name, you know. But I don't think any of us, we're all giving suggestions out there, but I don't think any of us know what Dermot Desmond's thinking himself. You know, it's a hard one to call because there are so many managers would want this job. You know, it just depends on what kind of manager he wants to go for.
Would you say Frank Lampard was an option? I mean, it would be box office Lampard Gerrard, and he did have Chelsea. We praised him last season. He took them into the top 4, albeit it was the forced transfer ban. But he played the kids. They played some decent football. Yes, he did fail this season. But do you think they'll be looking at Lampard?
No, I don't see it. I just think they need somebody. I just think they need somebody who's got the experience and an understanding of Scottish football that can hit the ground running. Anyone that suggests, Darren, that there's some kind of bedding in period right now, I think has lost the plot, because quite simply we're in a situation coming up where Celtic and Rangers know that next season's title winners have got an opportunity to go straight into the Champions League group stage. So you're suddenly in a situation where there's a lot of money at stake here, and European football is changing. They want to be there at that table playing, whether they're the fourth seeded team in any group. Doesn't matter, they just want to be at the table.
Peter, I think you're 100% right. I can only go on the time when I was at Celtic and Wim Jansen, and we lost the first 2 games of the season. Now I think it helped that he had Murdo there, and the kit man was John Clark. I think he helped that they maybe had a chat and what this, especially it was stopping the 10 in a row, what this really means. So I think if it is someone out, I would like to see Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe's a fantastic coach. I think he did an incredible job for Bournemouth, keeping them in the league for 5 years. But I think he would need to bring someone that understands the Scottish game as well, understands Celtic. But again, I've said I think I'm going with you. I think it's Stevie Clark.
Yeah. Let's look to the game itself. It's not too far away from kick-off. 12 noon, high noon here at Celtic Park for the third Old Firm encounter of the season in the Scottish Premiership. Who would have thought when we were here for the first Old Firm encounter that this game would be meaningless as far as the destination of the title? I don't think anyone would have predicted that when we were going towards March 21st, that it wouldn't have any implication whatsoever for the outcome of the title. But such has been Rangers' dominance in this match that the title's in the bag, and they're coming out here at Celtic Park in the next hour as champions. There'll be no guard of honour, but I don't think that'll matter a jot to Steven Gerrard or the Rangers players. It's something that hasn't happened before with Celtic and Rangers, and I don't think it'll happen in the future. What's the betting like on this one, Gabriel? Because some people like the odd flutter based on the teams once they know them, and based on that little vibe that they get ahead of the game.
Yeah, well, this morning we were speaking just before we went on air, and it was completely evened. They thought that perhaps it was going to be a draw, but we've seen the teams come out, and Celtic are now favourites, just about. They're 31-20 for the victory. So that would suggest that perhaps Celtic could win this one. They haven't won in 3. It's their worst run in the Old Firm since under Gordon Strachan. They lost 4 in a row in 2008. You've got Odsonne Edouard to score any time is 13-8, and Alfred Morelos to get the winner 5-1.
And as we get ever closer to this game, I'm going to get the guys' predictions, but what about the predictions of some of the punters on our Facebook and YouTube feed? Because now the banter really does intensify. It gets ever closer to kick-off, and people really get hyped up for this one. I mean, that's the great thing about it. Hopefully everybody is staying at home, following the rules, making sure they are safe. Of all days, a day like today when I'm going for my jag, and I'm going to happily take it so that I can look forward to some kind of summer staff party, to be perfectly honest with you. But everybody gets hyped up for this, Roughie. Usually we'd be in pubs if we couldn't get a ticket. Usually there'd be 60,000 here. This place would be absolutely bouncing right now, but it's not going to happen. But there still will be that intensity when you're sitting at your home, jumping up and shouting at the television.
Yeah, I think we've all got friends of both teams, and we all know what it means to them. And you're right, this game's all about bragging rights, going to your work on the Monday and then your mates, one supporter or the other, and there's always that bit of banter going on, and that's what these games mean to people, and that's why it's important that the players get a win for whatever side they support. But you're right, it's a marvellous fixture, and Darren's already said he's played in a few of them. It must be incredible to be on the winning side of one of these teams. It must be amazing.
Gabriel?
What, my prediction, would you like to know that?
Yeah, fire away.
I'm going to go for 1-1. Now, there hasn't been a draw in this game for the last 12 fixtures, but I can just see it being, we spoke about it being a tight game. Since Gerrard's been in charge, there's not been a single Old Firm out of the 9 that have had more than 3 goals in it. Rangers have won the last 3. I just feel that Celtic are playing for pride and they'll give everything to not lose this game. I can see 1-1 and I'm going to go for it. I think Morelos will score first.
Yeah, well, if Alfredo Morelos scores a goal in this match, it'll be the first time he's scored in this encounter, and it certainly will be one of those celebrations I think a lot of Rangers fans would love to see, and he'd love to burst this goal situation that he's had in the Celtic Rangers match. I don't know why he's been unable, and he's had a few chances, Darren. See, when I look back at some of the opportunities Morelos has had to score, I mean, he could burst the bubble here and at Celtic Park of all places. He's been unlucky on a few, and in others I think he's been unable to handle the pressure of it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, Peter. I've been a striker and not scored as many goals as he's scored, but you end up snatching at things. You end up, where if it's against another team, you just casually stroke the ball in the net, or you chip the keeper, all that, because your confidence is so high. But in this game, he's got himself so hyped up that when it comes, he loses a little bit composure, and that's why he's obviously failed to score.
Yep. Just before we get to where it's going to be won and lost for you, Roughie and Darren, Gabriel, let's go back over those teams just to get an insight into the team selection from John Kennedy and from Steven Gerrard. First of all, the Celtic side.
Yep, exactly as we expected. It's Scott Bain in goal, right back the Everton loanee, John Joe Kenny. In beside him, you've got Stephen Welsh, making his second Old Firm appearance, of course, made his debut in this fixture 6 months ago. Christopher Ayer, Celtic's standout defender, plays alongside him. With Diego Lexalt, another loanee, he has played in all 3 fixtures as well. At the base of the midfield, it's captain Scott Brown. He'll be flanked by Callum McGregor and Ryan Christie, neither of them having their best season in a Celtic jersey, but they'll be looking to get back, and they've got Scotland coming next week as well, so they'll be trying to be firing for that. David Turnbull hasn't been picked for Scotland. He starts for Celtic number 10. He says he's got a point to prove to Rangers after their defeat in January, and also to Steve Clarke for leaving him out. Up front, Moye Elyounoussi is chosen to partner Odsonne Edouard. Elyounoussi has scored 13 goals in all competitions this season, but only 1 since the turn of the year. Odsonne Edouard has begun firing. He's got 21 in all competitions, and if he scores 6 goals in his last 6 games, he will equal his record goal haul for last campaign. Moving over to Rangers, you've got Alan McGregor in goal. The veteran 39-year-old has seen plenty of these fixtures. Leon Balogun plays right back as Nathan Patterson and James Tavernier are both injured. Inside of him it's Connor Goldson, who's played every minute for Rangers since February 2019, and Flip Hilander, who's recovered from a thigh problem. Left back, Borna Barisic, he'll take a penalty today if the Rangers are awarded a spot kick. In midfield, Stephen Davis plays just the day after being announced with a 1-year contract extension. Glenn Kamara also plays. He was allegedly racially abused in Thursday night's defeat to Slavia Prague, but he has been deemed in the right frame of mind by his manager Steven Gerrard to start in midfield. Joe Aribo plays just in front of the two of them. He started wide right on Thursday night, but he comes inside, which leaves space for Yanis Hadji. He starts off the right, he'll come inside. We know he's 2-footed. He likes a goal from outside the box, so look out for that today. Ryan Kent on the left-hand side of midfield. He scored 4 in his last 7 and 2 in Old Firm games. He likes the big occasion. And the Colombian up front, Alfredo Morelos, as I've said before, it could be lucky number 13 for him.
Okay, as far as the game itself is concerned, I'm looking at both sides. I think Rangers will win this one by 2-1. I think they've got players in there who've been absolutely superb throughout the season. I'm a big fan of Stephen Davis. I think he's a calming influence. He's also someone that can pick a pass. He keeps the game simple. Joe Aribo has been superb this season. He's been consistent this season as well with his left peg. Who knows if Morelos is going to score in this match? Only time will tell, but I think they've got enough in reserve. And of course the back line, as well as the goalkeeper, that back four is really what you build a championship winning side on. And that's not rocket science. You look at any of the great title winning managers, they make sure they've got a solid spine to their team, and that's why I think Rangers are good enough to win this match and just cement the overall feeling that they are indeed the champions and well worthy of it. Everybody talks about Celtic and their implosion. It's all about Rangers and what they've done this season, and they've been superb domestically, and of course despite losing to Slavia Prague, I think they've had a great season in European football as well. So it's Rangers for me to win by 2-1. Roughie.
I would have probably swayed toward Rangers as well, Peter, but I think the midweek game might just take a wee bit out of them physically, depending on how the Celtic defence, or what Celtic defence turns up today, will be a big part of this game. I just think the energy that Celtic have got in midfield, Mcgregor, Christie and David Turnbull in particular, I think this is a stage for David Turnbull to show everybody how good he is, and I think he will be the man of the match today, but I can't see Celtic winning, so I'm going to go one each.
Okay, a draw from Roughie. Darren Jackson, the last word on the predictions from you.
Well, I think Celtic know they have to be good defensively, Peter. But I think, as I said before, I think a big plus, a lot of Rangers supplies comes from the wide areas in their fullbacks. So I think that's a huge plus that Tavernier's not playing. And again, it's always the midfield, it's won and lost. But today I think if Edouard turns up, because I think he's that bigger player for Celtic, I think, and I don't think the Rangers defence can handle him. I think if he turns up, Celtic will win 2-1.
Okay, remember, try not give Roughie and Gabriel pelters for going for a draw. A draw is a prediction as well. Don't worry about the scales on their backside. Gabriel, last word from some of the fans?
Yep, from some of the fans, I'll give you some. We've got Ronnie Porter, 2-1 Rangers. Michael Climie agrees with him, 2-1 Rangers. John Gwynn's gone for 2-0 Rangers. Niall Kane, 1-1 draw, siding with us, Roughie. And finally, Greg Morrison, 3-0 Celtic. Odsonne Edouard hat-trick. I think he's better than Moussa Dembele. Just two quick stats before we go. There's been 4 red cards in the last 5 Old Firms, and all of Rangers' last 4 goals have come from a set piece.
Yeah, absolutely, and thankfully there's no VAR ahead of this game, because if there was a penalty, even with no fans inside that stadium, all hell would let loose around many parts of Scotland. Listen, as we have mentioned on more than a few occasions, as I look here from the grassy knoll at the Emirates Arena, I've never seen so many police around Celtic Park without a fan in sight, but thankfully most of the supporters have obviously paid heed to what was said ahead of this game. Don't come around to Celtic Park, don't cause any problems, stay safe and stay in your home, and hopefully that's the way it pans out, just as a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan in the car pumps the horn as they go by. So there you are. There's always one dissenter. Hopefully he doesn't stop, and the police are keeping a close eye on them as well. But listen, this is a game to be enjoyed in the confines of your own home. Over the 90 minutes, we'll analyse it. Gabriel and myself will be back here at 3 o'clock. We'll also bring you the managers and the players and their response to what unfolds over 90 minutes in this third Old Firm encounter. Who's going to come out on top? Will it be Celtic or Rangers, the champions, or will it indeed be a draw, as Gabriel and Roughie suggested? Hopefully you've enjoyed our coverage in the preview to the big game. Enjoy the match. We'll be back with you at 3 o'clock on Facebook, on YouTube and on Twitter. From Darren, Roughie, Gabriel and myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching.